My hands and fingernails are always blue, and it's because of a plant. And that plant is indigo. Indigo has taken a hold of my life, and I have to say it's created quite a bit of chaos. It's made me move to Charleston. It's made me become a farmer, which is really hard work. It's forced me to become a chemist. I've bought hundreds of books, scoured libraries, met with historians, and become a dedicated researcher of all things indigo. One of the first things I learned was indigo's ties to Charleston. The word indigo and the color indigo are everywhere. You can't miss it. So how did this happen? In 1739, a 16-year-old girl started an industry and changed the face of Charleston with indigo. Eliza Lucas and her family moved from Antigua to Charleston when her father inherited a plantation on Wapoo Creek in what is present-day West Ashley. In fact, as you drive down Savannah Highway through the Avondale area, you might actually be driving over old indigo fields. Well, shortly after their move, her father was called back to his military post in Antigua, leaving young Eliza in charge of the plantation. She always had an interest in botany and agriculture, and he began sending her various seeds and plants to try because they were always looking for their next cash crop. Eliza reported back to her father that the one that held the most promise of everything he sent her was indigo. It took Eliza and the enslaved Africans and enslaved Native Americans on her plantation 5 years to successfully grow and process indigo. And with that, the indigo bonanza of the Lowcountry began. This bonanza lasted approximately 50 years until the start of the Revolutionary War. On the eve of the war, indigo accounted for 35% of the total exports of South Carolina, and over 1 million pounds of indigo extract is being shipped yearly from the port of Charleston to England. So I'm sure you're all asking, so why was indigo so important? Did you know that before the year 1856, everything that had color, whether it was your clothes or your shoes, the carpets under your feet, or even the flags of the nations, all that color came from either a plant, a bug, or a mineral? Do you remember in primary school or elementary school where you learned to combine the primary colors of red, yellow, and blue to create secondary colors like green and purple? That's what you do with natural dyes. Use the red of, say, the madder root, or the yellow of the well plant, and the blue of indigo. You combine these to create secondary colors. So indigo is important not just for making blue, but also for making other colors. Indigo was the first natural dye used by humans, and it's also the most complex. Today, we understand its chemistry, but it still seems like magic. You put white fabric in the vat, you take it out, and it's this yellowish green. Then it turns teal, and then it turns blue right before your eyes as the indigo reacts with the oxygen in the air. It truly seems like magic. To me, these natural dyes have always seemed to have a life and glow all their own. The indigo plant itself is somewhat nondescript and shrubby. It has no spectacular blooms. It has no medicinal purposes or culinary uses. So why has indigo captured our imaginations? There's an old African folk tale of how it simply captures us by creating things the color of the sky. From the barest hint of blue on a frosty winter's morning, to the brilliant cerulean of the autumn sky, to the inky blackness of midnight, these are indigo's gifts. Its sole purpose is to remind us that although we have our feet firmly planted on the ground, our souls are tied to the heavens. When I began researching this dye, indigo, I asked several local experts if any had survived these now 270 years since the Revolutionary War, and I was assured that none had. One day, when I was scouring my sources, I came upon a picture of an indigo plant growing present day on Ossabaw Island, which is a sea island off the coast of Savannah, Georgia. The folks on Ossabaw told me that yes, it was a kind that was grown here historically, and in fact had been growing there for as long as anyone could remember, and that Ossabaw had been an indigo plantation before the war. I was invited to Ossabaw to lead an indigo dye workshop, and while there, we decided to test these plants to see if they really even had any blue in them. And we were delighted to see they produce this warm, rich, vibrant blue. Later that summer, I was also introduced to an agricultural researcher who recognized the importance of this Ossabaw indigo. You see, it's adapted and changed. It's gone from being a tropical plant that is killed to the ground at the first hint of frost to a semi-tropical plant that can be hit by frost and come back. Last year, research was started at Clemson's campus here in Charleston, and after all the field trials are done and we understand the exact needs and growing conditions of this plant, indigo will return to the Lowcountry. We can have it growing everywhere. We can have it growing on King Street, Marion Square, or you can have it growing in your own backyard if you like. But there's another exciting thing about this plant. It can lead us on a path to a more sustainable future. For you see, it's in the legume family, the same family as peanuts. And no, we're not going to have blue peanut butter. But legumes help to add nitrogen to the soil. They heal the soil and build it up. So the plan is to put this indigo in the summer cover crop rotation of area farmers. They would get paid on the yield per acre. Then we can come in and cut and harvest this plant to create a beautiful, natural, domestic source of bloom. We're all starting to recognize the importance of knowing about our food, like where was it grown, how was it grown, how far did it travel to get to your plate, did it come in on a cargo ship from around the world, or did you grow it yourself or get it from the farmer down the road? So let's take those questions we've asked about our food and apply them to our clothes. What's the fiber your clothes are made from? How is it made or grown? What's the social and environmental cost of the chemical dyes used to give them color? Who made them and under what conditions? And what's the environmental cost of shipping them on cargo ships around the world? My journey with indigo has required me to ask these questions of myself, and as a consequence, I've changed my practices. I've become more conscious of and mindful of all my decisions. So I ask you today to join me in dreaming an indigo dream, where you know the name of the farmer that raised the cotton for your t-shirt, or you know where it was made, and the person making it has received a living wage and under safe conditions. Or you know the field where the indigo was grown to color your blue jeans. A world where you wear your clothes with pride and honor because you've been mindful of all your decisions. I want to leave you with one last thought today. A closet full of fast fashion is just as unhealthy as a diet full of fast food. We can do this. I know we can. And it starts with me, and it starts with you. Thank you.